Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into the conclusion of a story that, it really defines streaming for an entire generation.
Absolutely. 9 years, 42 episodes, and it's all over. We're talking about Stranger Things, Season 5, Episode 8.
Chapter 8, The Right Side Up. Just a brilliant title to cap it all off.
It's the end of an era, really. All that supernatural horror, that perfect 80s nostalgia, all wrapped up. And for you, we're going to cut straight to the chase.
Right. Our mission in this deep dive is to pull out the essential nuggets from this massive 2-hour-plus finale.
We're focusing on three huge things you need to know. First, how that final battle actually played out.
Second, the new mythology about the Upside Down, and trust me, it is not what you thought it was.
And finally, the fates of the characters, especially 11, which, well, they're intentionally a little bit murky.
Yeah, and the sources on this are really split, which makes this so fascinating to break down.
For sure. Everyone seems to agree the ending gave the characters this huge emotional payoff. But, there's also a lot of talk calling the plot itself safe.
Or anticlimactic, even.
Exactly. So we need to look at why the Duffer Brothers might have prioritized that character closure over, say, a huge cosmic spectacle at the very end.
It's a classic storyteller's choice, isn't it? Character versus plot. So, okay, let's start with that final mission, because it was incredibly complex.
Oh, it was. The party knew this was their one and only shot. It was basically a suicide run, and they had to split up to pull it off.
So you had three moving parts. Elle, Cully, and Max were going into Vecna's mind, the psychic friend.
Right, in the void. At the same time, the rest of the crew, the older kids, the younger fighters, they were in the abyss, the physical realm, fighting the hive mind.
And Hopper and Murray had the failsafe?
The C4.
Yeah.
They were rigging the bridge to blow, ready to sever that connection for good the second everyone was clear. It was a race against the clock on, 3 different fronts.
And in all that chaos, we got a major casualty confirmed, one that I think some people saw coming, but it still hit hard.
Callie, or 8. She made that surprise return this season, but, yeah, she didn't make it.
And her death wasn't even in the abyss with the monsters. It was back at the alternate Hawkins lab.
Yeah, she was helping Elle. The army bursts in and she gets shot in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Right after Murray blows up a military chopper to create a distraction. Just total mayhem.
What's so important about her death, though, is what the writers gave us right before. That final piece of context.
Oh, absolutely. She reveals this scientist, Dr. K, was trying to harvest her blood to keep Brenner's program going.
So her death wasn't just, a random casualty. It was the final nail in the coffin for that whole system of abuse that created them. She broke the cycle.
And that reframes it completely. It's a thematic victory, not just a plot point.
Okay, so let's pivot from that sacrifice to the heart of it all, Vecna. The finale finally gave us the full, complete origin story for Henry Creel.
This is a huge lore drop. It recontextualizes everything. We learn he didn't just stumble into some evil dimension. His transformation started way earlier.
It started when he found a scientist in a mine shaft.
A terrified scientist guarding this briefcase. Henry gets into it, and inside is this strange black and red stone.
The stone with the webbing on it? Like a gate.
Exactly. And the second he touches it, these mind flayer particles enter a cut on his hand. The hive mind link was established right there, in that mine shaft. He was infected from the very beginning.
Which makes his confrontation with Will so much more chilling. Will tries to give him an outright. He argues that Henry was just a pawn, that the mind flayer was controlling him.
But Vecna just shuts that down completely. He rejects any idea of being a victim.
He gives that incredible line, "It has never controlled me. I never controlled it. We are one."
Yeah. He says he needed the mind flayer to show him how broken the world is, and the mind flayer needed his intelligence to organize its chaos. They were partners.
So they weren't fighting a monster and its puppet. They were fighting one unified, intelligent evil.
Which is why the fan reaction to the final fight is so interesting. A lot of sources point out that after all that buildup, Vecna was defeated really quickly.
Almost shockingly so. The whole sequence, from the husk coming alive to the end, was less than 15 minutes of screen time.
Right. Nancy is the bait, and the party just unloads everything they have.
And the final blows were a team effort. Elle gets a boost from Will's powers and impales Vecna on a spike.
But that wasn't the end. The real finishing blow, the moment of pure catharsis that was given to Joyce Byers.
She just grabs an axe and beheads him.
And that line, "You rode with the wrong family." It was the show validating years of her trauma with one perfect, brutal moment. It might have been brief, But as a character beat, it was huge.
It felt like the emotional payoff was way more important than the spectacle. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
The mythology.
Yes, the true nature of the Upside Down. This is the biggest aha moment of the whole series, I think.
I agree, because based on Brenner's journals and all that foreshadowing about Einstein-Rosen bridges, we live the truth. The Upside Down is not a parallel dimension.
Wait, say that again? So it's not a dark mirror of Hawkins?
Not exactly. Think of it more like a temporary decaying bridge.
Yeah.
Or a hallway. It's an unstable wormhole made of exotic matter.
And it anchored itself to Hawkins and froze the town in time on November 6, 1983.
Exactly. That's why the date never changed. So if the Upside Down is just the bridge,
Then what's on the other side? The actual source of the evil.
that's Dimension X.
No.
Or the Abyss.
Yeah.
That is the ancient realm where the monsters come from. When El blasted Vecna back in '79, she sent him to Dimension X. The Upside Down formed later as the unstable connection between that place and our world.
So the Mind Flayer is the true big bad, the ancient evil from Dimension X. And Vecna's entire plan was just to stabilize that wormhole, to merge Dimension X with Earth.
Yeah, they stopped him just in time. But while the lore is incredible, a lot of fans pointed out some lingering questions.
Like what?
Well, for one, if the Mind Flayer is the source of all the monsters, where were all the Demogorgons and Demodogs in that final fight? It was just the husk.
That's a great point. And what about Will's connection? He's spent seasons in agony whenever the hive mind is hurt.
But this time, when they're blasting it with fire and bullets, he feels nothing. No psychic backlash. It feels, a little inconsistent with the rules they set up.
It does break the internal logic a bit. The writers seem to just sideline that for the finale.
Yeah. And some sources raised a huge what if. If the bridge had collapsed before Vecna stabilized it, could time have reset to 1983, wiping out the whole story?
Whoa, that's a massive narrative rabbit hole they chose not to go down. Let's shift from the cosmic stuff to the emotional cost. The biggest debate is about Eleven's fate.
Right. This is where the writers made a really divisive choice. After the fight, the military corners them at the gate. Elle says this heartbreaking goodbye to Mike.
You understand me better than anyone else has.
And then the C4 goes off, it wipes out the bridge, and it seems Elle along with it. A classic noble sacrifice.
She removes herself from the board so her friends can be free from the military chasing her.
But maybe not. We jump forward 18 months, and Mike lays out this theory to the party, using their final D&D game as a frame.
And he has evidence, which is what makes it so compelling. He points out the military had their sonic dampeners on full blast, the stuff that's like kryptonite to Elle.
Exactly. She should have been powerless. But he remembers she was standing there, totally unaffected, right before the blast.
So his theory is?
Kali. He thinks, in her final moments, Kali used her illusion power to project an image of Elle at the gate, while the real Elle snuck away. What they saw disappear wasn't really her.
But is that even plausible? I mean, the sources confirm Kali was shot moments before the detonation. Is Mike just creating a story to help himself cope?
And that is the genius of it. The writers never tell us. Instead, they give us this beautiful, ambiguous shot of Elle hiking in the highlands, finding a small town with waterfalls.
The peaceful life Hopper promised her.
But we never see her reunite with them. Mike just says, I choose to believe that it is, and leaves it up to you, the viewer.
And that's where the criticism comes in, because some people called it a cop-out.
A huge one. Or, more seriously, some critics argued it framed suicide as a potential solution for the hero. The ambiguity is meant to protect her from Dr. K, but it robs the audience of a clean resolution.
It's a protective lie, but it leaves a question mark. Okay, let's move to that 18-month epilogue, which really does provide the emotional closure, all set on graduation day for the class of '89.
This is where the show really delivers. It shows that even if the cosmic threat is gone, the emotional legacy, especially of characters like Eddie Munson, is still very much alive.
And Dustin gives us the perfect example. He's the valedictorian.
Unbelievable.
And his speech is this amazing tribute to Eddie. He rips off his robe, he's wearing a Hellfire Live shirt, calls the principal a square, and just runs for it to the sound of Iron Maiden.
It's pure cathartic perfection. It fulfills Eddie's whole philosophy and shows how these kids were changed. They have the courage now to reject conformity.
And we get that same closure for the couples. Joyce and Hopper are finally engaged.
They're dated Enzo's. He even suggests they move to Montauk. A real fresh start.
And Max made a full recovery, with Lucas right there. Mike predicts they'll stay together. Their bond was forged in, well, hell, basically.
We also see the older kids scattering. Steve is the only one who stays in Hawkins.
His arc is complete. He's coaching Little League, teaching sex ed, just being a good grounded guy.
Meanwhile, Nancy drops out of college to work at the Boston Herald. Jonathan's at NYU for film. Robin's at Smith. They're all moving on, but promise to meet up every year.
And then there's Will. He moves to New York City with Jonathan.
And he's finally described as feeling comfortable in his own skin. It's this beautiful moment of release, implying he's found acceptance and a community that understands him.
Which leaves Mike. He becomes the storyteller, right? The chronicler of their adventures.
We see him at his typewriter, but crucially, he's hiding the truth about Elle's survival. His fiction is what's protecting her reality.
The whole show ends on this perfect, cyclical note. Mike sees his little sister, Holly, heading down to the basement with her friends.
To start their first D&D campaign, the legacy continues.
So, what does it all mean? The party got their emotional closure. They all found a measure of peace. But the plot, especially with Elle and Dimension X, is left open.
And the writers gave the final word to Mike. He gets to be the one who frames the story, who gives the ambiguous ending meaning. He chose to believe Elle is alive.
Which leaves us with the final provocative thought for you to chew on.
If the true villain, the Mind Flayer, isn't dead just cut off, and Mike has vowed to keep these secrets hidden in his stories, what role will his fiction play in protecting the world from the eventual return of Dimension X? And will he ever write the true story of Elle? You have all the facts now. What do you choose to believe?